Hey, this is really good. Okay. Shh. Quiet, please. Thank you very much, class. Hello, class. Welcome to this week's filmmaking lesson. I might not be here at Lotus College. I will be going to Magic Kingdom, to Frontierland, and then going to the shopping called Agrabah Bazaar. Yeah. So first, we will be doing home video releases over 20th over 100th anniversary of Disney. So today, we will be doing Saludos Amigos 1943 film. Here's a film segments in this film. This film features 4 different segments, each of which begin with various clips of the Disney artists roaming the country, drawing cartoons of some of the local cultures and scenery. Lake Titicaca. In this segment, American tourist Donald Duck visits Lake Titicaca in Peru and meets some of the locals, including an obstinate llama. Pedro. Pedro is about a small anthropomorphic airplane from an airport near Santiago, Chile, engaging in his first flight to retrieve an airmail from Mendoza. With disastrous consequences, he manages to safely return to the airfield with the mail, which happens to be a single postcard. RKO Pictures released this particular segment as a theatrical short on May 13, 1955. Chilean cartoonist Rene Reyes Boitiger, known popularly as Peppo, was disappointed with how the character Pedro represented his country. In response, he developed the character Condorito, who went on to become one of the most iconic comic magazine characters in Latin America. El Gaucho Goofy. In this segment, American cowboy Goofy gets taken from Texas to the Argentinian Pampas by the narrator to learn the ways of the native Gaucho. This segment was later edited for the film's Gold Classic Collection VHS DVD release to remove one scene in which Goofy is shown smoking a cigarette. This edit appears again on the Classic Caballeros Collection DVD. The sequence has since been restored as the unedited version has been much requested. The fully unedited version is available as a bonus feature on the Walt and El Grupo DVD release, and fully unedited and restored on Saludos Amigos and the Three Caballeros 75th Anniversary Edition 2 Movie Collection Blu-ray. When the film was released on Disney's streaming platform Disney Plus, the edited version of the sequence was used despite disclaimers of the film being presented in its original format with outdated cultural depictions and tobacco usage, but it has since been changed to the unedited version. Aquarela do Brasil. Aquarela do Brasil, Portuguese for Watercolor of Brazil. The finale of the film involves a brand new character, Jose Carioca, from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, showing Donald Duck around South America, having a drink of cachaca with him and introducing him to the samba, to the tunes of Aquarela do Brasil and Tico Tico no Pupa. Alright, on tomorrow, we will be doing the Three Caballeros 1945 film. Here's a plot in this film. The film celebrating Donald Duck's 10th anniversary consists of 7 segments, each connected by a common theme. In the film, it is Donald Duck's birthday, namely Friday the 13th, and he receives 3 presents from friends in Latin America. The first present is a film projector, which shows him a documentary about birds called Aves Raras. The first segment of the documentary tells the story of Pablo, a penguin seeking the warm weather of equatorial South America. The next segment details some of the odd birds in Latin America. During this part documentary, he learns about the Aracuan bird, who received his name because of his eccentric song. The documentary then shifts to the perspective of a man narrating a story from his childhood, where he discovers and befriends a donkey with the wings of a condor in Uruguay. The next present is a book given to Donald by Jose. This book tells of Bahia, spelled Bahia in the film, which is one of Brazil's 26 states. Jose shrinks them both down so that they can enter the book. Donald and Jose meet up with several of the locals who dance a lively samba, and Donald ends up pinning for one girl, Yaya, who she actually died in 2021, the cookie seller, but fails to gets jealous of another man. After the journey, Donald and Jose leave the book. Upon returning, Donald realizes that he is too small to open his third present. Jose shows Donald how to use black magic to return himself to a proper size. After opening the present, he meets Panchito, a native of Mexico. The trio take the name The Three Caballeros and have a short celebration. Panchito then presents Donald's next present, a piñata. Panchito tells Donald of the tradition behind the piñata. Jose and Panchito then blindfold Donald and have him attempt to break open the piñata, eventually revealing many surprises. The celebration draws to a close when Donald is filed away by firecrackers in the shape of a ferocious toy bull, with which the firecrackers are lit by Jose with a cigar. Throughout the film, the Aracuan bird appears at random moments. He usually taunts everyone with his madcap antics, sometimes stealing Jose's cigar and trying to make Jose jealous. His most famous gag is when he reroutes a train that Donald and Jose are riding on by drawing the new tracks, causing the train to disassemble. The film consists of 7 segments. The Cold-Blooded Penguin. This segment is narrated by Sterling Holloway, reproducing images of the penguins in Antarctica. In this segment, a penguin named Pablo is so fed up with the freezing conditions of the South Pole that he decides to leave his home for warmer climates, navigating the long coast of Chile, including the Juan, Fernández Islands, and Vina del Mar, passing by Lima, the capital of Peru, and Quito, the capital of Ecuador, before landing on the Galapagos Islands. The Flying Gauchito. This segment, with adult narration provided by Fred Shields, involves the adventures of a little boy from Uruguay and a winged donkey who goes by the name of Burrito, which is Spanish for little donkey. Bahia. This segment involves a pop-up book trip through the Brazilian state of Bahia, spelled Bahia in the film, as Donald and Jose meet up with some of the locals who dance with samba, and Donald pinning for one of the woman portrayed by singer Aurora Miranda. She also died in 2021 for heart cancer. Brazilian singer Aurora Miranda in The Three Caballeros. She died in 2021 for her heart disease. Las Posadas. This is the story of a group of Mexican children who celebrated Christmas by reenacting the journey of Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Saint Joseph searching for room at the inn. Posada meant inn or shelter, and their parents told them no posada at each house until they came to one where they were offered shelter in a stable. This leads to festivities, including the breaking of the piñata, which in turn leads to Donald Duck trying to break his own piñata as well. Mexico, Pátzcuaro, Veracruz, and Acapulco. Panchito gives Donald and Jose a tour of New Mexico City and the country of Mexico on the flying syrup or magic carpet. Several Mexican dances and songs are learned here. A key point of what happens later is that Donald is pinning for some more ladies again, tries to hound down every single one he sees, and gain return affections, but once more he fails every time and ends up kissing Jose while blindfolded. You belong to my heart, and Donald's surreal reverie. The skies of New Mexico City result in Donald falling in love with singer Dora Luz. The lyrics in the song itself play parts in the scenarios as to what is happening as well. Then several imagined kisses to lead to Donald going into the love is a drug scene. Donald constantly envisions Sugar Rush colors, flowers, and Pachito, and Jose popping in at the worst moments, making chaos. The scene changes after Donald manages to dance with Carmen Molina from the state of Oaxaca, from the isthmus of Tehuantepec. The two dance and sing the song La Zandunga. Carmen begins by singing the song with Donald quacking out of the rest of the chorus with her. The drunkenness slows down for a second after Donald multiplied himself while dancing, but speeds up again with Carmen reappears dressed in a churros outfit and uses a horsewhip as a conductor's baton to make Cacti appear in many different forms while dancing the Jesucita in Chihuahua, a trademark song of the Mexican Revolution. This scene is notable for providing the masterful combination of live action and cartoon animation as well as animation among the cacti. The scene is interrupted when Panchito and Jose suddenly spice things up for the finale of the movie, and Donald ends up battling the same toy bull with wheels on his legs with the day before the premiere. The catch is that it is now loaded with fireworks and other explosives, following with the fireworks finale with the words "The End," exploding from the fireworks, the first in Spanish, "Fin," in the colors of the flag of Mexico, then the second in Portuguese, "Fim," in the colors of the flag of Brazil, and finally in English, in the colors of flag of the United States, "The End." All right. Last thing I wanted to know that Aurora Miranda has died in 2021. Like I said earlier, she died in her heart cancer. On Wednesday, we will be doing The Reluctant Dragon 1941 film. Here's an overview of this film. Opening. The film starts at Robert Benchley's home as he plays in his swimming pool, shooting darts at toy ducks. It turns out that he is delaying in trying to sell the rights of The Reluctant Dragon to studio at Walt Disney. Benchley's wife finally convinces him to approach Disney, so they drive to the Walt Disney Studios. There she leaves him at the studio gate while she goes shopping. Studio operations toured by Benchley. After his arrival, Benchley dodges an overly officious studio guide named Humphrey, played by Buddy Pepper. As he wanders around the studio, Benchley stumbles upon a number of the Disney operations and learns about the traditional animation process, some of the facets of which are explained by a staff employee named Doris Francis Guilford. The life drawing classroom where animators learn to caricature of people and animals by observing the real thing. A film score and voice recording session featuring Clarence Nash, the voice of Donald Duck, and Florence Gill, the voice of Clara DeCluck. A Foley session for a cartoon featuring Casey Jr. from Dumbo. Doris demonstrates a sonovox in the scene, which was used to create the train's voice. The camera room, featuring a demonstration of the multiplane camera. Upon Benchley's entering the camera room, the film turns from grayscale and black and white to Technicolor, a la The Wizard of Oz, prompting the droll Benchley to breaking the fourth wall, examine his now red and blue tie and his yellow copy of the Related Dragon storybook and comment, "Ah, Technicolor!" When Doris arrives to show him around the camera room, she asks Benchley if he remembers her. His answer, "Yes, but you look so much different in Technicolor." Donald Duck appears on the camera stand to help explain the mechanics of animation and animation photography. The ink and paint department, including a Technicolor showcasing montage of the paint department, Doris presents a completed cell of the titular character from Bambi. The maquette making department, which makes maquettes from small statues to help the animators envision a character from all sides. Some of the maquettes on display included Aunt Sarah, C&M from Lane and Tramp, and Peter, Captain Hook, Tinkerbell, Mr. Smee, John and Michael Darling from Peter Pan. Both films were in development at this time, but would be delayed by World War II and not completed until the 1950s. Also on display is a black zebra centaurette from Fantasia, which Benchley admires. The employee on duty makes Benchley a maquette of himself, which many years later was purchased by and owned by Warner Brothers director Chuck Jones. The storyboard department, where a group of storymen, one of whom is portrayed by Alan Ladd, with the most screen time, test their idea for a new short of Benchley, Baby Weems. The story is shown to the audience in the form of the animatic or story reel, using limited animations loaned out by 20th Century Fox to direct this film. Alfred Walker later became the first outside film director to use the storyboard, which the Disney staff had developed from previous illustrated scripts during the early 1930s. One of the actual young studio artists speaking on camera during the segment is John Denner, who later became a major character actor in dozens of television shows and movies, most famously the shady deal at Sunny Acres episode of Maverick with James Garner and Jack Kelly. The Roman animators include Walt Kimball, Fred Moore, Norm Ferguson. Benchley watches Kimball animating Goofy. He and the audience are also treated to a preview of a new Goofy cartoon, How to Ride a Horse, the first of the many how-to parodies in the Goofy series. RKO later reissued How to Ride a Horse as a standalone short on February 24, 1950, featuring John McLeish as a narrator and Clarence Nash as Goofy's horse Percy. After viewing the Goofy presentation, Benchley witnesses Ferguson animating Pluto. Humphrey, who has been one step behind Benchley in the entire film, finally apprehends him and delivers him in person to Walt Disney, who is in the studio projection room about to screen a newly completed film. As Benchley sits, he hands Disney the animated cell, the maquette, and discovers the centaurette in the pocket. Disney invites Benchley to join them, but Benchley's slight embarrassment yet relief. The film they screened is a two-reel, 20-minute short based upon the very book Benchley wanted Walt to adapt, The Related Dragon. The Related Dragon. The cartoon starts with an introduction of the narrator of the story. One of the main characters, the boy, who is reading a book about knights and bloodthirsty dragons, is introduced. His father comes rushing by, claiming to have seen a monster. The boy reassures his father that his one was only a dragon, to which the father panics and runs to the village in fear. The boy then goes to Dragon's Lair, where he is confronted not by a ferocious beast, but a shy, poetry-loving creature, though surprised at seeing what a nice creature the dragon is. The boy befriends him. When he arrives back at the village, The boy discovers that Sir Giles, the dragon slayer, has arrived. He runs to tell the dragon that he should fight him, only to be left disappointed when the dragon announces that he never fights. The boy visits Miss Sir Giles, not St. George as in the original story, and it is revealed that Sir Giles is an old man. The boy tells Sir Giles that the dragon will never fight if they decide to visit him. Sir Giles and the boy visit the dragon while he is having a picnic. It turns out that Sir Giles also loves to make up poetry. So the dragon and Sir Giles serenade each other. The boy then asks if he could recite a poem for his own. From this, he uses his chance to get a sword, to get a word in edgewise, to shout at them to arrange the fight. The dragon leaves, but is persuaded back out of his cave when he is flattered by Sir Giles. The dragon and Sir Giles eventually decide to fight, but as Sir Giles and the boy leave, the dragon realizes then, shocked, that he has accidentally agreed to fight and tries to tell Sir Giles and the boy that he changed his mind, but they ignore him and the dragon mutters to himself why he cannot just keep his big mouth shut. The next day, the villagers gather to watch the fight. Sir Giles arrives waiting for the dragon. Inside his cave, the dragon is too scared to fight and cannot breathe fire. The boy calling the dragon a punk poet leads to a dragon getting angry and eventually spitting flames. The dragon jumps for joy as he is now ferocious. The fight ensues with Sir Giles chasing the dragon around with his sword and into the cave, where they drink tea and make noises to make it seem they are fighting. Out in the open, they charge at each other, creating an enormous cloud. Inside they dance, and Sir Giles reveals that it is time for the dragon to be slain, but only for pretend, to which the dragon gets excited. Sir Giles places his lance under the dragon's arm. Then the dragon jumps out of the cloud and performs a dramatic death scene. The story ends with the dragon being accepted into society, to which the dragon recites a poem. I promise not to rend or roar, a Scrooge of countryside anymore. Sir Giles is drawn by the animators to somewhat resemble Don Quixote. Closing. The film closes on Benchley and his wife driving home. She harangues him for failing to sell the movie, and that by dilly-dallying, Benchley missed his chance to sell the rights. With Disney having already produced the film, he answers, "Movie," in the style of Donald Duck. Alright. On Thursday, we will be doing Make My Music 1946 film. Here's some film segments in this film. This particular film has 10 such segments. The Martins and the Coys. The popular radio vocal group, the King's Men, sings the story of a Hatfields and McCoys style feud in the mountains. The feud is broken up when Grace Martin and Henry Coy, two young people from each side, inadvertently fall in love. The segment was later censored from the film's U.S. video released due to objections to the film's stereotypical depictions of hillbillies. Blue Bayou. This segment featured animation originally intended for Fantasia, using the Claude Debussy musical composition Clair de Lune from Suet Bergamasque. It featured two egrets flying through the Everglades on a moonlit ride night. However, by the time Make My Music was released, Clair de Lune was replaced by the new song Blue Bayou, performed by the Ken Darby singers. However, the original version of the segment still survives. All the cats joined in. This segment was one of the two sections in which Benny Goodman and his orchestra contributed. The music played over visuals drawn by the animator's pencil as the action occurred. The scene portrayed pep cat teens of the 1940s. being swept away by popular music. This segment features some mild female nudity that was edited out in both the US and UK DVD releases, although the film's Japanese home video releases features some mild female nudity enacted and uncensored. Without You. This segment is a ballet of lost love sung by Andy Russell. Casey at the Bat. This segment featured Jerry Colonna reciting the poem, also titled Casey at the Bat by Ernest Thayer, about the arrogant ball player whose cockiness was his undoing. The setting is 1902 in the town of Mudville. A few moments that are exaggerated or altered and music is added. A sequel cartoon and the sequel in a segment called Kissy Bats Again was released on June 18, 1954. Two Silhouettes. This segment featured two rotoscoped live-action ballet dancers, David Lenchin and Tanya Ryabochinskaya, moving in silhouette with animated backgrounds and characters. The dancers are accompanied by two putti, also in silhouette, down the shore singing the tunnel song. Peter and the Wolf. The segment Peter and the Wolf is animated for dramatization of the 1936 group musical and composition by Sergei Prokofiev, with narration by actor Sterling Holloway. A Russian boy named Peter sets off into the forest to hunt the wolf with his animal friends, a bird named Sascha, a duck named Sonia, and a cat named Ivan. Just like in Prokofiev's piece, each character is represented with a specific musical accompaniment. Peter by the string quartet, Sascha by the flute, Sonia by the oboe, Ivan by the clarinet, Grandpa by the bassoon. The hunters threw their gunfire by the kettle drums, and the evil wolf primarily by horns and cymbals. After You've Gone. This segment again featured Benny Goodman and the Goodman Quartet, Teddy Wilson, Cozy Cole, and Sid Wise as six anthropomorphized instruments: piano, bass, snare, and bass drums, cymbal, and clarinet, are paraded through the musical playground. Johnny Fedora and Alice Bluebonnet. This segment told the romantic story of two hats who fell in love in a department store window in New York City. When Alice Bluebonnet was sold, Johnny Fedora devoted himself to finding her again. They eventually, by pure chance, meet up again and live happily ever after together by side. The Andrews sisters provided the vocals, like the other segments. It was later released theatrically. It was released as such on May 21st, 1954. Finale: The Whale Who Wanted to Sing at the Met. The final segment on the finale of the film is a bittersweet story about a sperm whale named Willie with incredible musical talent and his dreams of seeing grand opera. A rumor is spread throughout the city about an operatic whale, but is seemingly disproven. Therefore, the short-sighted impresario Titi Tati believes that the whale was swallowed an opera singer. He concludes this after studying the story of Jonah. Titi Tati sets out to rescue his non-existent quarry. The newspapers announcing that he was going to sea. Whitey, Willie's seagull friend, excitedly brings Willie to the newspaper. All of his friends believing that this is his big chance, so he goes out to meet the boat and sing for Titty Tatty. He finds them, and upon hearing Willie sing, Titty Tatty comes to believe that Willie was swallowed but not one, but three singers, due to his having three uvulae, which each with a different voice range: tenor, baritone, and bass. and chases him with a harpoon on a boat with 3 crewmen. Upon hearing the whale sing, the crewmen try to stop the stubborn and deluded Teddy Taddy from killing the whale, as they want to continue listening to him sing, even to the point of pinning Teddy Taddy down by sitting on him. A montage then follows of what would be Willie's future career in performing opera on the stage of the Met, but Teddy Taddy, shown but to have not finally been convinced in the end. Reality strikes when Teddy Taddy succeeds in harpooning and killing whale, but the narrator then explains that Willie's voice, now in the thousand, each more golden than before, will sing in heaven, ironically, still achieving his dream after all. The final shot is of the Pearly Gates with the sold out sign. Nelson Eddy narrated and performed all the voices in this segment. As Willie the Whale, Eddy sang, among others, Short Bread, Largo al Factotum from the Barber of Seville, all 3 male voices in the first part of the sextet, and from Donizetti's opera, Lucia de Lammermoor, and Mag der Hamel of Verbungen, from Frederick Wilhelm Rey's opera Martha. As the curtains close and the film ends. Alright, on Friday, we will be doing Melody Time, 1948 film. Here's the big nits in this film. According to Disney, the film's plot is as follows. In the grand tradition of Disney's greatest musical classics such as Fantasia, Melody Time features 7 classic stories, each enhanced with high-spirited music and unforgettable characters. A feast for the eyes and ears, full of wit and charm. A delightful Disney classic with something for everyone. Walt Pelswick, in the 1948 review for the New Sentinel, described the film as an adventure into the intriguing making-believe world peopled by Walt Disney's cartoon characters. It also explains that with the off-screen voice of Buddy Clark doing the introductions, the episodes include fantasy, folklore, South American rhythms, poetry, and slapstick. A 1948 review by the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette described it as a mixture of fantasy, abstraction, parable, music, color, and movement. The 7 mini musical stories outlined. Once Upon a Winter Time. This men's sleep segment features Francis Langford singing the title song about 2 romantic young lovers in a winter day in December during the late 19th century. The couple are Jenny and Joe. Unlike most Disney cartoons, Jenny and Joe lack spoken dialogue. Joe shows off on the ice for Jenny, and near tragedy and a timely rescue ensues. This is intertwined with a familiar rabbit couple. Like other segments of these package films, Once Upon a Wintertime was later released theatrically as an individual short, in this case on September 17, 1954. Bumble Boogie. This segment presents a surrealistic battle over a solitary Bumblebee as he tries to ward off a visual of musical fancy. The music, courtesy of Freddie Martin and his orchestra, with Jack Vina playing the piano, is a swing jazz variation of Rimsky-Korsakov's Flight of the Bumblebee, which was one of the many pieces considered for inclusion in Fantasia. The Legend of Johnny Appleseed. A retelling of the story of John Chapman, who spent most of his life roaming the Midwestern United States, mainly Ohio and Indiana, in the pioneer days, planting apple trees, thus earning his famous nickname. He also spread Christianity. Dennis Day narrates as an old settler who knew Johnny well, and provides the voices of both Johnny and his guardian angel. The segment was released independently on December 25, 1955 as Johnny Appleseed. The piece has a running time of 17 minutes, making it the film's second longest piece before being adapted for melody time. The story of Johnny Appleseed was first immortalized around campfires, then later turned into storybook form. Little Toot. The story of Little Toot by Hardy Gramacki, in which the title protagonist, a small tugboat in New York City, wanted to be just like his father Big Toot, but could not seem to stay out of trouble. The Andrews sisters provide vocals. A clip features briefly in the Friendship song on Disney's Sing-Along Songs volume Friend Like Me. It was also featured in Sing Me a Story with Belle. This segment was later served as an inspiration for Tugs. Trees. A recitation of the 1913 poem Trees by Joyce Kilmer, featuring music by Oscar Rasbach and performed by Fred Waring and the Pennsylvanians. The lyrical setting accompanies animation of bucolic scenes seen through the changing of the seasons. To preserve the look of the original story sketches, layout artist Ken O'Connor came up with the idea of using frosted cells and rendering the pastel images right onto the cell before being photographed, which each cell was laminated in clear lacquer to protect the pastel. The result was a look that had never been seen in animation before. Blame it on the samba. Donald Duck and Jose Carioca and meet the Iraqian bird, who introduces them to the pleasures of the samba. The accompanying music of the 1914 polka Panhelleti Cavaquinho by Ernesto Nazareth, written with English lyrics. The Dining Sisters provide vocals while organist Ethel Smith appears in a live-action role. Pickles Bill. The finale follows about Texas' famous hero, Pickles Bill. Raised by coyotes, he became the biggest and best cowboy that ever lived. He hissed at the rattlesnake and learned about all the animals. It also features his horse Widowmaker, who has been saved by the vultures that tried to eat him. He brought the brain from California to save Texas from the drought, but when he woke up from the river, he heard a cow mooing. There was the band of evil rustlers stealing the herd of cattle, but they didn't know the herd what they stole was Bill's, so he lassoed them and knocked out all of their teeth by one. The rustlers were now finally reformed and started to sing Yippee-yi-yay. Then Bill and Widowmaker traveled through the desert. He got a stick, and then he dug the Rio Grande, and it recounts the ill-fated romance between Bill and the beautiful cowgirl named Slew Foot Sue, with whom he fell in love with at first sight, until a jealous Widowmaker made Sue to get literally stranded at the moon at their wedding day. This retelling features Roy Rogers, Bob Nolan, and the former Horace Trigger and the son of pioneers, telling the story to Bobby Driscoll and Luana Patton in a live-action frame story. The segment was later edited on the film's NTSC video release, since the PAL release, to remove all shots with Bill smoking a cigarette and almost the entire tornado scene with Bill rolling his cigarettes and lighting it with a blinding bolt. Both the cigarette and tornado scenes were restored when the film was released on Disney Plus, with a total running time of 22 minutes. It is the lengthiest piece. Alright, that's all the home video releases we got. So second, we will be doing the Little Mermaid TV series. Here's an episode 2 in this TV series. The Great Sebastian. Sebastian tells Triton that he is capable of making a deal with his Sharkinians, a race of shark-like merpeople with an attitude to match, but in truth he is petrified of them, and Ariel and Flounder must tag along to help him make the process go smoothly. Alright, that's all the TV series we got. So third, we will be doing Felix the Cat shorts. Here is Musical Muse, released by 1919 on November 16th. The second short was made by Felix the Cat, called The Musical Muse, and it was released by November 16, 1919. Alright, that's all I got for today. Let's do some work now.